Module 3, Routing Lines, covers the following topics: off-page connectors, major process lines, minor or utility lines, flow arrows, and line breaks. Let's take a closer look at our drawing. We have our equipment with our nozzle placements, and now we're ready to add some off-page connectors or continuation arrows. Take a look at the Symbols tab to access the tools. The top 3 tools are the ones we'll take a look at. Let's place one on the left side of our drawing, have the arrow going to the right, put the information above the arrow, typically the commodity, text inside the arrow, usually a drawing number for a reference. Text below the arrow, if it's used, we can put in an area. Below are the insertion points, and we'll pick the left justification, click OK, and we'll pick a point close to the edge of the border. And we have our information drawn. We'll zoom up around our reboiler, and we'll put in 2 arrows for the utility steam. And we'll again add the information in, pick an insertion point, and select a location. That will be our steam in for the heat medium, and then we need a steam out arrow. Enter the information, pick an insertion point, and there's our off-page connectors. We'll do a couple more on the right side. We'll do a vapor outline, and from our pumps, a liquid outline. Pick your insertion point. We'll select a location close to the edge of the border, leaving us lots of room for our drawing. And now we have our continuation arrows or off-page connectors. We're now set to draw our process lines. Our next topic is major process lines. Let's zoom up on the left side of the drawing, and we'll take a look at adding some process lines. On our toolbox, select the Line Types tab, and then select the main process line. For our start point, pick the end of the off-page connector, come over distance. To align with our nozzle, we can take advantage of AutoCAD's object snap tracking, and we can track to the midpoint of our nozzle and then finish off process line. You'll notice it's a fairly thick line. To adjust that line, if it's too thick or to match company standards, we can go into our Standards Manager, and in our Standards Manager, under the P&ID settings, under the General Drawing Parameters, we can select our process line thickness. Let's add some more lines. We'll add a dashed line underneath to represent the pipe coming from the bottom of the vessel, and we can just place it. And then we can add our process. Our main process line again will come from the midpoint of our nozzle. We want to go into our inlet nozzle on our reboiler and using object snap tracking, and our process line comes in. We can add our vapor line back to the tower, select our tool, pick up the midpoint of the nozzle. We want the midpoint of this nozzle. Very easy with object snap tracking. And finally, we'll do an out nozzle for our vapor out. Zoom up, we want to snap to the middle. Quite easy to do. The last set is our liquid out to our pumps, and then from our pumps to our off-page connector. Put in the first line, put in a second line, and our outline. We won't worry about line breaks just yet. Zoom in and out to get to where you need to go. So there's all of our process lines. We'll now take a look at the next topic, minor or utility lines. Similar to our process lines, other than it's going to be a different line color and a different line weight. So again, we'll, on our toolbox, select the line types, select the utility line, and we'll zoom up on our steam lines, which are considered utility. So we'll start, we'll come over, track to the midpoint of our nozzle, and then for our low pressure steam out, you'll see there's a visible difference in the thickness between the process line and the utility line. In our standards manager, we can also adjust the utility line thickness, which is half of the process line thickness. Once we're done with that, we can take a look at adding our flow arrows. Flow arrows are our next topic. Let's zoom on the left side of the drawing to add flow direction arrows to our process line. Under the Utilities tab on the toolbox, you'll see large arrows, small arrows, and an auto arrow. Let's take a look at just placing a single arrow. We can place a large arrow, typically reserved for process lines. Select near the end of the line, and the arrowhead is placed. Very easy to do. The auto arrow feature allows us to select the polyline, and we'll tell it that we want large arrowheads, and it will place large arrowheads on every corner of the polyline. We can accept or reverse the direction. We click on OK, it places all the arrows at the ends of the lines. If there's an extra arrow, in this case we don't need one because we have our off-page connector showing the direction, we can just erase that. So we can complete the auto arrow on all of our lines, except the direction. Zoom up on our pump lines here. Again, any extra arrows we can just erase. We can even use our AutoCAD copy command to copy the arrows. For the utility lines, we can actually use the auto arrow or the small arrow. It works with utility lines as well. This time though, we'll select small arrows, and you'll notice the arrowheads are a little bit smaller to represent utility. In this case, we just need one arrow, so I could just place a small arrow, pick near the end, and there's my arrow. Quite easy to do. Our last topic in Module 3 are the line breaks. This allows us to go in and break our process or utility lines when they are crossing. We'll zoom up on the pumps, as this is the area where we have some lines crossing, right here and right here. Depending on project standards, you may wish to break the horizontal over the vertical or the vertical over the horizontal. I'll do both for this sample. The tool is Trim Lines. Our break distance, then ask for a reference break line. I'll pick my vertical line. And then it asks if you want all entities or just selected entities. So I can just select the entities I'd like to break. So I'll break my horizontals. We see a nice little break of the horizontal over the vertical line. If your project standards say to break the vertical over the horizontal, we can do that too. Select the Trim Lines tool again. Set the break distance, select a reference line. In this case, I will select the horizontal line, and then again, I'll just select, I've only got one break here, so I'll pick my vertical line, and it breaks the vertical line over the horizontal. This concludes the topics covered in Module 3. Please review Module 3 or select the next module.